Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining me for another episode of Lunch with Lucern. My name is David Hansel. I am one of the founding members and managing partners of Lucern Capital. We are a real estate private equity firm that invests primarily in multifamily assets and industrial flex warehouse space with a heavy concentration in the Carolinas, expanding out to some other states in the Sun Belt and some stuff up in the Northeast. So as we're waiting for a few other folks to join us, just wanted to let you know that today we're going to be diving into the topic of investor relations. I think this is a very useful topic, even if you're looking to start your own syndication or fund business, this could be very helpful. Or if you're an investor looking to participate in assets that a firm like Lucern is acquiring, or other companies like ours, this will be helpful because we're going to peel back a lot of the layers of what we do and how we communicate and what to expect. So we'll get started. Again, my name is David Hansel. We're going to talk about investor relations and we'll spend about 20 minutes here. I appreciate you joining me for your lunch break, and hopefully we could wrap this up, give you some good, useful info, and get back to work. So thanks again for joining. The first thing I want to talk about is trust, transparency, and communication. These are like the three pillars of working with investors, and it transcends everything that you do. It's not something that happens overnight, but there's many touch points. Building trust happens over time through careful and clear communication, by being transparent, sharing updates, challenges, wins that you may have, and making yourself available to address questions and concerns that folks have. So as we go through it, and if you're building out something for yourself, keep these things in mind for every piece of the puzzle, because it's very important. So first, we want to define who we are. As once you understand that, you can go out and talk to folks about what you're doing and why and how. And so as you focus on a strategy, it should line up with the team and the capabilities that your team has. You don't want to go out and buy an office building to reposition if you and your entire team only has experience in the multifamily space. You want to make sure that you're focused in an area that you believe provides good fundamentals and has growth opportunity for you and for your investors. And you also want to make sure that those types of investments in those types of markets will throw off a return that's acceptable to your investors and can also make a suitable return for you as a company as well. So moving right along, you have to build your investor database and your sphere of influence. And this starts way before you actually have a raise or a specific investment. And so the four things that we do at Lucern that have been the most powerful is listed here. Thought leadership, providing blogs and articles in newspapers or industry magazines that are relevant to your specific business and focus of strategy or the economy at large that's affecting investments. It's important to share that information. In a way, it helps not only communicate to your current investors that you're being thoughtful and careful about what you're doing and making intelligent decisions, but it'll also be useful to engage and find new investors that would like to connect with you and consider future investments. A lot of that info can be repurposed into social media through videos such as today, this lunch with Lucern. We'll repurpose this and share it in an email blast and do some stuff through social media to capture new folks that are interested to follow or learn about what we are doing, or what you would be doing. Getting out to conferences, industry conferences, and sometimes conferences that are not in your specific industry. For an example, if you're a focus or you really like working with doctors, and certainly most doctors have a strong enough income where they may be looking for investments such as this, you may attend a medical conference or an expo where you can present information. But you need to be out and meeting and networking with people. We are many times involved in conferences where we're speaking or providing detailed information on various topics related to our business, no different than what I'm doing here with you guys today. So once you have that set out, you got to find an investment, and what are the steps that happen there. So once you've identified an investment, or we identify an investment that we like, we go deep on our underwriting. We look at and as we underwrite, the strategy starts to get formulated. Sometimes the deal gets kicked out. Sometimes it moves forward. And as it moves forward and you understand where there's inefficiencies in the asset or opportunities to make improvements on, the physical look and feel of the community or branding, you're going to set your strategy. But we did our last presentation was on underwriting. My partner Frank did that. I'd encourage you to take a look at that as well. But careful and diligent underwriting will help you determine A, if the investment's good, and then B, what strategy you want to take. So next, you need to put together marketing documents. You need to put an offering deck together. And on the next slide, I'm going to dive into that. But this is a critical way to get the word out and clearly communicate the opportunity and what that means to a specific investor. And lastly, and you should do this way in advance as well, is you should engage with a securities attorney. If you're raising capital, you'll need to do specific filings with the SEC. There are various options, and they will guide you through that. One of the options is being allowed to do general solicitation. There's some other requirements that come with it, but provides you the biggest opportunity to cast the widest net. So you need to talk with the securities attorney and figure out what's the right path for you and have those docs put together, because they will be used later on as you're bringing in capital. So next, important components to building your marketing deck. So on the left-hand side, I list through a whole bunch of these. On the right-hand side, I have two images from one of our recent decks. At the end of the presentation, you'll see my email. You can feel free to email me and request examples of decks. We can share a fund deck and a syndication. Obviously, if you're an investor interested in learning more, this will be a helpful tool to understand more about us and what our strategies are. Also, if you are trying to build your own business, you can use it for inspiration. But you need to include an overview of the firm. You need to go deep on the team, understand who the people are, what their background and experience is. And the team goes beyond just the folks on your payroll. So it could be your auditors if you do audited financials like we do on our fund, or it could be a trust company that handles all the compliance and doc collection. Again, that's something we do on our funds, not on individual syndication. And your securities attorney. So it's important to show all that and talk about the background. You want to describe the specific strategy. You're going to talk about everything from the market you're going into, the types of assets, the dollar size of the assets that you plan on buying. Like maybe you're focused on assets from 15 to 30 million, right? You're going to set parameters because the investors are going to buy into that. And that's speaking to specifically a fund where you're going to go out and deploy capital on behalf of people. If it's an individual syndication, You're just going to talk about that particular asset, why you're buying it, what your plan is. You want to include your track record. We include everything, both active assets and assets that have been through a life cycle, and we compare our projected returns to achieved returns. It's a good way to let people know what you've done and how you've performed. And really important, and I suggest you do this on every deal when you exit, whether you need it or not, but build a case study off of every asset that you round trip. And it's a powerful tool because, you go into an investment with a strategy, and part of being in the space that we're in is you have to be nimble. You have to be ready to call an audible if things are changing or not, or the market's changing, or issues with labor force, whatever it may be, you may need to pivot. So in a case study, you'll talk about a strategy, you'll talk about what you did and what the end results look like. And what you did may be a little bit different with the strategy, and you want to really drill down on why you made that pivot so people can get into your mind and understand why and what you're doing. And lastly, as I mentioned, communication that we talked about on the first page, and I'm going to touch on that a little more. But what's the expectation? How frequently are they going to hear from you? How can they find out information when they want it? And I'll go into that a little bit more. So going on to the next slide. Now you have the investment. You need to raise the capital. You need to get the word out. There's a lot of ways to do it. We've had great success with these items here. Video is so powerful now. We'll reuse this as I say, and email it to our database of active investors and potentially new investors. You can integrate video from site visits or due diligence trips, peeling back some of the layers of the onion to let folks see what's involved and how you're doing it. It's there if they want to see it, and you're providing ongoing content for them. And you can share that also out onto your social media platforms. So with the specific investment in mind, you will send out that marketing deck to people that engage with you or interest. So if you're on social media and you're putting something out about participating in a fund, you'll have potentially a landing page where they'll fill out that they want to learn more. They come into your database, you provide that info, set up a call or engage with them in the way that they want to. Really important to get out to networking events. Again, could be industry related, non-industry related. If you're raising capital, there's a big universe of people. You have to pick an avatar type of investor that you're comfortable approaching and discussing and having conversations with, and going out to events is a great opportunity. People in general are intrigued by real estate. Sometimes it's like a cloud and they don't know how to navigate it or get into it in the first place. So you're able to provide them an opportunity to understand types of investments that they could participate in and what those look like. But getting out to these events is critical. And then lastly, it's not a specific item, but time. You have to have a team, or you yourself have to carve out a lot of time to engage with your investors. So as you send out the deck, they're going to have lots of questions. Some people won't, but most will. And each person has different concerns. So you want to try to understand what they need to know, and you want to go as deep as they want, but be respectful of their time. And, if they just want some basic info, provide it to them and follow up. But it's going to take a lot of time, and time also when you're onboarding them. So that is something that you need to make sure you plan for. So now we talked about communication twice on the first slide and the last slide. I want to talk about a plan or a strategy. You need to think about, and we give a lot of thought to when and how we communicate and what's in the communication, right? So we're providing a detailed quarterly update that goes into the asset, everything that's happening, the performance, the health, any challenges, if we have challenges, what we're doing to address them. You want to have annual reports, especially if you have multiple investments, that can update your investors across their portfolio. And additionally, you want to update on any key milestones. Obviously, if you're selling, if you're refinancing, if there was an issue at the property, like a major issue such as a fire. We had a significant fire on one of our assets years ago, and we got in front of it and talked to the investors about what we were doing and how we were going to navigate it. It definitely was very challenging, but the end result was very profitable. And we worked through that and kept the investors abreast of what we were doing and why we were doing it. And lastly, you need tools to be able to communicate. Having a good CRM system, we use a system called HubSpot, and we actually run our marketing through that, and it provides us a lot of granular detail on what's getting open, what's viewed, what things are getting more engagement on social or email blasts, and targeting to that. You can see how frequently and how much time people are spending on the sites to build, to look at those groups and maybe provide more one-on-one outreach. The portal is a place that houses all of their investments, where they get data on their distributions, on all of their tax filings, on all of their updates. It's a username, password login built specifically to house our investments, and provides, in addition to all that, charts and details about the portfolio and how it's set up. So you want to get your investors to engage with the portal, and it could be very simple as sending out an explainer video demonstrating how you get in and the important pieces to find documents or returns that you may be looking for. So definitely put time and energy into finding a portal that will help make the experience better for your investors. So before we wrap up, and I will give a little summary here, if anyone has interest in getting a copy of our offering deck for a fund or a syndication, I'm happy to send an example of both. Also, if you want an example of an investor quarterly update to see the depth and the detail that we provide, feel free to email me. My email is on the right side of the screen, david.hansel@lucerncapital.com. And I encourage you also to follow us on LinkedIn or Instagram or Facebook, but LinkedIn, we put out a lot of content there. As a wrap up, again, being authentic, building trust, and strong communication are going to kind of permeate through everything you do. Define and be honest about your team's expectation, make investments that fit that, not expectation, capabilities, prepare to raise capital, start out in advance, kind of letting folks know what you're doing, get out to events, talk to people, start the social media, get in touch with the securities attorney. All these things, even once you do an investment, have to continuously happen, because you may have another investment around the corner or maybe 6 months down the road, but you want to stay out in front of people and provide that thought leadership, share important events that are happening and how it could affect, in the news, and how it could affect you, like what's gone on over the last year. There's been a lot to report and has made a lot of changes, and you need to be upfront and share that and how that affects the investors and the assets that we're participating in. And finally, getting out and raising the capital. We provide a lot of different ways to do that, and also create a strong communication strategy. You need to make sure you devote the time. You have a big responsibility taking on capital from other people. You owe it to them to let them know where the pitfalls are, issues if they have, liquidity or things of that nature. Make sure they understand the investment before they get involved, and put their dollars to work. I want to thank you all for joining us and look forward to next month. Again, thank you and have a great day.